What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here for, of course, it's a brand new episode of What's the Chat. And of course, we're starting off the new year by kicking off with a fantastic fight that's been announced recently, which is Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler at UFC 2007. Of course, the card that Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier 2 is happening on, the return of Conor McGregor, of course. But we've also got a UFC debut in Michael Chandler. He's coming back, as Dan Hooker is coming back as well after that loss of Dustin Poirier in mid-2020. Of course, those two put on a Fight of the Year nominee between them back in the UFC Apex in Vegas. What was it, August, July time? Actually, beginning of June, when we was returning to normality as such in MMA. But in terms of other consistent schedule, of course. But last night, or it might have been 2 days ago now, but yesterday officially it was confirmed that Dan Hooker will be facing Michael Chandler, and welcoming him into the UFC. Obviously, he fought at Bellator this year against Benson Henderson, picked up a phenomenal, first round knockout win, and then obviously tested free agency. And obviously, the build up from that point was that Dana White was a huge fan of Michael Chandler, and he's continued along that vein of line, and he's been given, his opportunity. He probably would have liked it to come a lot sooner, and obviously he was the backup to Gaethje and Khabib at UFC 254, of course. Which it says a lot about what Dana White thinks of Michael Chandler. Of course, Michael Chandler has a fantastic record and a resume to back it up. He was Mr. Bellator, and maybe still is Mr. Bellator up until January 23rd. But, I like to see the comparison between Michael Chandler and the way Ben Askren was thrown into the fire. You didn't see Ben Askren being nominated as the backup fighter to Kamaru Usman or Tyron Woodley that was on the card. Main event, and that I believe at the time when he fought Robbie Lawler, of course. And you see Michael Chandler coming straight away and being given that opportunity to be a backup, backup to the main event in Khabib and obviously Justin Gaethje. But and it does say a lot, because Ben Askren was obviously undefeated when he came to the UFC. He was riding a huge wave from the fans of MMA, at least, to get him into the UFC. But there was never an opportunity of him going, or being touted about as he wins one fight and he gets a title opportunity, or he is the backup to that, and that's the reason why he's on the card. He got given a huge task in terms of Robbie Lawler, albeit maybe on reflection it wasn't the Robbie Lawler that we knew. Maybe it's a different version of Robbie Lawler, one that's bowing out of the UFC perhaps. And then he got Jorge Masvidal, of course, which was the 5-second KO, and then he got Damian Maia, which was him being a wrestler was a disgusting matchup in terms of someone who's been in the UFC for over a decade, and a fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioner as well. And obviously that fight, it got a little bit memed for the lack of boxing skill that was on show. But again, you see the difference between Ben Askren and Michael Chandler is very vast. And I think, there was talks of him fighting Tony Ferguson on that 254 card. There was talks about Charles Oliveira as well, after Charles Oliveira beat Tony Ferguson. But Dan Hooker, I think, is the right opponent. There's also talks about Justin Gaethje after he lost to Khabib, of course. But, both of them are on similar records, 21-5 versus, of course, for Dan Hooker. Of course, Dan Hooker 20-9. So both of them are similar, around 26 fights to 29 fights. You forget how much Dan Hooker's put into this game, really, and just how much he's done for the sport. 20-9 is an excellent resume, and the fact that he's coming into this fight with more experience than Michael Chandler says a lot. Now he's coming off the back of the loss, of course, Dustin Poirier, as mentioned, that tremendous fight that those two put on back in June. He was on a 3-fight winning streak. Before that, obviously, Paul Felder, Al Quinto, and James Vick. He beat all of those, although many contest that he didn't beat Paul Felder, of course. And obviously Michael Chandler, as we mentioned, beating Benson Henderson and Sidney Outlaw in his last 2 fights at Bellator. And if he wins this, he gets thrown straight into the top 5 of the UFC rankings for the lightweight division, which this year it could be the division of it could be the year of the lightweights. I think last year was the year of the bantamweights with Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Corey Sandhagen, Cody Garbrandt, of course. I'm about to sneeze. But yes, I think this year we've got Conor McGregor coming back, we've got Dustin Poirier returning, we've got Gaethje, could have Khabib still come back, could have GSP into the lightweight mix, of course, should that potentially unfold. And you've still got Charles Oliveira, who's on a hot streak. You've got Tony Ferguson still there, albeit he's not performed as we're used to seeing Tony Ferguson perform. He's still up there. Paul Felder, of course, won a lot of the hearts in 2023's, turnaround in 48 hours notice, 24 hours notice. And he's been phenomenal. And the lightweight division is phenomenal right now. I still say, in terms of skill gap, I think the bantamweight division has the closest skill gap in terms of champion to the top 15 at least. But, Conor McGregor beats Dustin Poirier. He's first in line undoubtedly for that title match, and they probably want to book him against Khabib. Then you got Justin Gaethje against Oliveira. It seems that's going to be the fight that they're going to make now. Dana White was talking about that last night on a Q&A as well with Laura Sanko on ESPN Plus, and I think that's a tremendous fight. It does feel a bit harsh on Gaethje, harsh on Oliveira, because he is on an 8-fight win streak and he's got to test it one more. Pardon me. Against Justin Gaethje, he's just come off the back of a fantastic year, albeit he did lose that title opportunity against Khabib, and obviously he put on a beating against Tony Ferguson. So the fact that Charles Oliveira's got to go through him before stepping into the title fight says a lot. And obviously, Chandler and Hooker, whoever wins that one, will be in eyesight of the title opportunity as well. I probably need one more just because the catalogue of challenges there is in the lightweight division. Now, this is what obviously Hooker had to say about Michael Chandler, of course. So to me, you're going to give me the new toy. I'm going to break the new toy real quick. They invested a whole lot of money to get this guy out of his contract and get him over to the UFC, and they're going to throw him in with me, who's like a bad stylistic matchup, and I'm going to break the new toy in 5 minutes. And that was with South China Morning Post, of course, who are doing tremendous work in MMA at the moment and covering a lot of the Eastern Hemisphere as well. Obviously, the Kiwi and Dan Hooker there. But it says a lot, and I think that is the sort of pressure that is on Dan Hooker. And we go back to the Ben Askren example. I think Dana White tried to kill Ben Askren pretty early, giving him ruthless Robbie Lawler, who we know is an absolute stone cold killer. Maybe not in 2020 or 2019, but we know what he's capable of. We see the highlights, and maybe the greatest moment in MMA between him and Rory McDonald in the rematch. But Dan Hooker, I don't know. I was going to say Dan Hooker maybe comes in with more pressure, but maybe he doesn't. I think Michael Chandler comes with the pressure. He is a fan favorite going into this one. A lot of people want to see him do well. A lot of people want to see him get given that type of opportunity that he's grafted so hard for and deserves to be in the UFC for now. But, Dan Hooker, he doesn't come to play. And the fact that he's fought Dustin Poirier, who you could say is quite similar to Michael Chandler, maybe not just in physique and aesthetics, but also, you've got a good striker there, you've got a fantastic wrestler. I think the wrestling almost is more sided towards Michael Chandler if you just make a top trumps. But, the pacing that they put on each other on is quite similar. The way they fight and the way they hold themselves is quite similar as well, you could say. But Dan Hooker's going to come in and look to steal the limelight from Michael Chandler, and he's coming to this as the heel, which he's probably done for the last 2 fights now. Paul Felder's very loved, and so is Dustin Poirier for the good work he's done as well. And obviously Dustin Poirier is going to be fighting on the main event above him, obviously against Conor McGregor. And I am a Dan Hooker fan, and I do slightly edge it towards him, but obviously Michael Chandler, a fantastic fighter, obviously 34 years of age, so he's just about still in his prime. Dan Hooker's still 30, obviously at City Kickboxing as well. We're doing fantastic things. You've got Adesanya there, Kai Kara France, Alex Volkanovski's affiliated with that gym, of course. So they are doing tremendous things over there. But here's what Michael Chandler had to say almost in return. So we settled on Dan Hooker. He actually stepped up and said he wanted to fight me, and I welcome all the trash talk, all the belittling, all the name calling, but it really doesn't matter. Once you step in that cage and the octagon door locks, it's going to be 15 minutes of may the best man win. And I'm excited to go out there and test my skills, and I'm ready to go out there and prove that I deserve to be in the upper echelon of the UFC lightweight division, and a guy who should be stepping into a title shot in 2021, which it's hard to disagree with. We see Dustin Poirier, he's one win away from a title opportunity after beating Dan Hooker, and you would say the same for Michael Chandler. He gets a win here tonight. I think Dan Hooker's 6th or 7th in the rankings for the UFC. I've not checked recently. New Year syndrome, of course. We're back in action in a couple of weeks now, which is I'm waiting for that hiatus to be done of MMA at least, and return to what is going to be an absolute barrage of action, especially 3 fights or 3 fight cards in the space of 7 days. But back to what we're talking about, of course, Michael Chandler. he's come to this as Mr. Nice Guy, isn't he? And he doesn't want the trash talking, but he's certainly defending himself and sticking up for himself and not becoming or not laying down easily for Dan Hooker. And we're going to see that in the fight probably. It is going to go, I'd imagine, 3 rounds. I think we do see all 15 minutes of it. It's going to be a tremendous co-main event to build up the star-studded main event for Conor McGregor to walk out in. But, yeah, Chandler, he's right. He gets a win, and obviously he's thrown a couple of shots at the likes of Tony Ferguson. Charles Oliveira have turned down short notice fights. Him and Tony Ferguson were going back and forth. He was also meant to, maybe fight Dustin Poirier at UFC 254 as well. That fight didn't happen. So there is a lot of fights out there for him. I'd be surprised, whoever gets the win on it in the co-main event on that January 23rd card will probably be calling out the main event, especially if Gaethje and Oliveira gets confirmed prior to that. Of course, you'd imagine, if Michael Chandler wins, he's going to be calling out the likes of Dustin Poirier or Conor McGregor in preparation for them to be walking out in the main event. Or does he go after, Khabib? I don't know if Khabib's a wasted call out at the moment. Unless you're Conor McGregor, maybe, because that is a money fight, of course, and it is a rematch that is probably going to be made for the UFC because it does bring so much traction in terms of revenue and eyes to the sport as well. But yeah, you always get it, don't you, in the post-octagon? And either you get some call-outs that are amazing, and you get some that almost don't make too much sense. But obviously, adrenaline's high, emotions are high after what has been whatever the performances, whether it's gone 15 minutes or not. It's always a huge come down to walk out the octagon and be expected to speak almost immediately. Now, moving on from that, we've got obviously Dana White coming out and talking about open scoring, of course, and he doesn't feel like it can change too much. He does feel, and would read his quotes here now, of course, if a guy knows that he's up 2 rounds and you're a professional fighter, you can absolutely stay away from a guy throwing an entire round and make the fight completely horrible. If you already know you've got 2 rounds in the bag, guarantee if you saw his score up there, all you have to do is stay away from the guy for the next 5 minutes. That makes for a lot of bad third rounds. And in a way, I do agree with him. I think that's the biggest concern, is that we lose 5 minutes of action that you wouldn't normally get. We see a lot of fighters and fights, at least, if it's 1-on-1 in the second round, going into the third round or 2-0, you do see them either take their foot off the gas, or you can see them both step it up a notch and say, right, we've got 5 minutes left to go. Let's try and get the finish here. And I think on an emotional level, unless it's tremendously close, like which way the scorecard's going. At least your coaches do, especially without crowds at the moment. You see a lot going in there, going, right, you are 2 rounds down. You need to pick up this third one, get the finish, or we're not going to walk away without the win. And if you do open scoring, I guess the easy comparison is to football, where you have got open scoring, where you score a goal, and it's immediately you're 1-0 up, you're 2-0 up, and you see teams sit back when they're 2-0 up, and you see maybe those that are 2-0 down and push for the the recovery and be able to go 2-2 and get a draw perhaps, and equally can see those that are 2-0 up, get a third eventually. Maybe you see that. Maybe see the fighter who's 2 rounds up get pressured a lot by the guy who's not who's got to win that third round to get the decision on his side. But it's a tough one, open scoring. I don't think that is the way forward. I think we do see it at some point in the UFC, whether they try it out for a month or 2. I think it does, because we have seen some tremendous or horrendous, should I say, decisions this year. And I think the lack of judging, even on the broadcast, you're seeing, the broadcasters, go at the judges a bit more, being a little bit less lenient to their scorecards, because we have seen some horrendous scorecards this year. And I think the introduction of video replay for the referees is important as well, almost like VAR, which has obviously become a huge topic in football as well. A lot of people disliking it for the way it's been applied. And I think that's the same way for the judges. I think the application of the scorecard or the scoring system maybe needs looking at, because it is a good scoring system. The 10-mark system, of course, 10 nines, and the way the rules are set out. I think we see it in the group chats. There's a lot of arguments about how the rules and the scoring system can be almost misinterpreted, maybe. And I think if we get judges maybe on the same level, maybe take them out of the arena or away from cage side, stick them in a room maybe, and get them to watch on screens, almost like in the VAR truck. You're away from the atmosphere and the pure emotion of the fight. You may be more or less likely to make a decision to feel based on emotion, rather than just watching a fight and saying almost ticking boxes, I guess. But he also, Dana White also said it's never going to be perfect. There are always going to be fights that absolutely drive you insane and piss you off, blow your bets. There will always be all these other things that go with the fight business. At the end of the day, watching the fight and waiting for the results are fun. And he's got a point. At least at a fan's perspective, it is quite. It's always fun when you go in the group chat and go, oh, who do you think won this? Who do you think won that? Before the result gets announced, and then obviously you get the result, and you're like, oh, how did he win that? I thought he won 2 and 3 out. So it does offer a lot of debate. And I guess for a fighters, it is unfortunate because you're losing half your paycheck, and you get a loss in your record, which can be detrimental to your career, especially if you get robbed of a victory that you probably should have had. Especially these top 10 guys fighting for top 5, or title eliminators if you're on the wrong end of the decision. It can really send your career the wrong way, and we saw a lot of that in 2020 as well. But yeah, let us know your opinions down in the comments below. But I don't know. I don't know if I go along with open scoring. Obviously, Invicta do use it in open scoring, and you don't see too many, disappointments and controversies come from Invicta in terms of judges scoring and the way bouts are being judged either. So obviously, with the UFC, there's a lot more eyes on it, a lot more maybe at stake for careers, and with it being the upper echelon of MMA. But again, you don't really see too many judges, from 1SC. You don't see much judging error there. And a lot of the smaller organizations, a couple of times from Bellator, but again, not too often. It's mainly in the UFC now. Whether that is maybe because we watch UFC more than other organizations, or maybe because the levels are that little bit higher, maybe the judging, it's 1% either way. You get it wrong, and you get Twitter calling a fight a robbery, even if it may not be a robbery. But yes, let us know your thoughts on open scoring in the comments down below, and make sure to give this video a like if you are for open scoring. Give it a dislike if you think it's not for open scoring, and let us know why or how you change the judging criteria, make it a lot better, so we don't get these fights that are split decisions going to the rules the wrong way. We see it, I think, Paul Felder, RDA, when you're getting Paul Felder getting a 50-45 scorecard and the other two getting a 50-44, I think it was the other way. If you see that there's an issue there. But yes, and also let us know your predictions down for Michael Chandler. He's going to have the successful UFC debut at 257. Is he going to be getting a title shot in 2021 like he wants? And I think it's a good place to wrap up there. So guys, make sure to hit that subscribe, and we will be back. Obviously, Fight Island returns in a couple of weeks, so we will have almost daily content for that now. But yes, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're on Facebook. We are closing on 2K followers, so make sure to hit that follow button, of course. And I'll see you guys on the next video.